Right, Bridget, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Helm developer call for Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. As a reminder, what we see here, say here, do here, and hear here does not stay here when we leave here. So if you don't want it shared on the internet, now is the time to go or mute or turn off your camera because this is recorded and put online. And so today's agenda, which I just lost here, we've got a number of things here. And so for those of you who don't know, what we do is we go through, although I think everybody here does know, we go through the announcements and then we have discussion. And if you have anything you'd like to add to the discussion, please go ahead and add it in here. In the document I just shared, you should be able to add or suggest something for this document. And the first thing we have is an announcement. Bridget, is this yours?
It is. So we had some confusion lately. I think Karina was the most recent to ask, so what's up with the recordings of this meeting anyway? Where are they? The trick was CNCF was in fact recording them automatically and publishing them to YouTube, but they don't get automatically added to the playlist, which is what's linked from the community repo. So Karen Chu has disambiguated and fixed that. And now the last year, at least, of videos are actually available in the playlist. So people who come along and want to watch old videos will be able to. They were always available on YouTube. It was very confusing how to find them because they weren't in the playlist, and now they are. So thank you to Karen for that.
Well, props to Karen for that.
That came up a couple of times. So now that is solved.
We'll need to remember
and she's going to keep
updating
taking care of it going forward.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have a packed schedule today, so I guess we can jump right into the discussion. And Bridget, you have the first one, which is about Helm 4.
Yeah, so speaking of old videos, I went back and watched the video from September 2nd that I missed, and it looks like we had some vigorous discussion about Helm 4, and I know by the end of September we were going to come to some sort of conclusion. And so I'm looking directly at Dr. Butcher, but also interested in other people's opinions about what's the cadence or the progress there? How are we going to adjust this plan, et cetera?
Now I'm drawing a blank on which HIP it is. Is it 3?
It's 12, and I linked to it in the notes.
All right, the HIP 12 defines the process for kicking off Helm 4. According to HIP 12, we would have the way it described it was a release engineer that would take on the technical task of aligning everything for the Helm 4 development lifecycle, and that person takes on a huge amount of responsibility. In the last couple of weeks, we have talked about dividing that role into two. One's more like a PM role and the other more like an architect role. But so far, nothing formal was proposed. But what the HIP did specify was that we would have this person or people in place by the end of September. Today's September 23rd, and we haven't even had anybody officially self-nominate for this role, let alone anybody actually taking on that role. So that is likely going to put us in a very interesting position for trying to hit our timelines. So in thinking about this, I'm a little concerned that because I was looking at a calendar as a bunch of squares instead of a calendar as an actual life cycle in which we all have different life experiences that tend to align in certain times of the year with, holidays, vacations, things like that, attempting to get anything done between October 1st and the beginning of the next year is an ambitious undertaking. And so one of the things I've been considering is maybe we should start working on amending HIP 12 with a definition of 2 roles instead of 1, and B, a timeline that maybe kicks off in January-ish or of 2022 instead of right entering the holiday season of 2021. So that's kind of what I've been thinking the last few days.
Yeah, and so we talked about this yesterday, Matt, and that sounds good to me, especially since nobody else has stepped up at this point to take on those roles. We've had a bit of discussion about what those roles entail, how much time they take, that kind of thing. So I think it's worth punting. especially since so many people are really busy right now. The other thing about schedules is we're heading into the biggest conference of the year for folks. And so they're often scrambling for their company's projects or their presentations or other things for that. And stuff like this gets put on the back burner. And so coming out of all of those things, coming out of the holiday season and kicking it off is probably a really good idea. So Matt, did I hear you say you wanted to update the HIP for those two things and propose that update?
I think I just said I wanted the HIP updated, but yeah, I can take that on. That was my HIP in the first place. So if you, because I'm trying to best Paul at this point, if we change out the wording of one thing with another, is that a HIP replacement?
Oh, dad jokes. All right. So I think we're good on that one. Matt's taking the item to update that, and we'll look for that HIP update so we can vote on it and approve it and get that in. So in the interest of time, we'll move on to the next one here, unless somebody else had something else with Helm 4.
Or HIP related funds.
Well, more HIP related funds. Yeah. The next one, Bridget, I think is yours, and it's based on issue 10-176. Which is the OCI media type.
And I'm going to look to Josh because he opened that, and I'm wondering, is this a bug fix that we have a very short timeline on? Is this something that Josh has input into? Should we be moving on 371 right away for that, et cetera? Josh?
Yeah, so it's a fairly simple fix. Basically, with the new OCI stuff, old charts that were pushed are being rejected on download because of semantics of the media types. And so the proposal is to be less strict than the 370 release. And basically, as you're downloading a chart from a registry, just don't even look at the media type of the tarball. I noticed so we used one, and I noticed Matt Farina, you had a chart that had another media type. So, and I'm not sure how you published that, but
I published it with Helm. When I did mine, I published it with Helm at the time.
Okay, well, we'll talk. I'd like to know more about that, but maybe it's just the way GitHub registry is showing it in their UI. But in any case, yeah, just at the very least to accept the old media type, even though it is experimental code. And because it's experimental, I don't see.
So let me ask this. This was one of those things that was debated in the original issue, right?
Right.
Do we continue to accept the old media type or not? In fact, I remember I came along late into it and people wanted to throw things at me because I said, shouldn't we accept the old media type as well? And I was told, no, it's experimental. We debated this back here. And there's been a lot of back and forth on this one. So it was come to that we didn't need to accept the old one. What's changed?
What's changed is I've received Slack messages from people with a sort of WTF emotion to them. So I mean, I always view this as experimental, so you shouldn't rely on it. But at the same time, it had been in that mode for 2 years and people were starting to use it pretty heavily. All of the Amazon and Google and Microsoft cloud registries we're accepting this. So I'm not suggesting we change the way that a chart is published, like pushed out to match the old way. It's just that it would accept these old ways. And maybe we put like a log line like, hey, deprecated media type if we detect it.
Yeah, I definitely think we should log the deprecated media type. Okay. So the patch fix release is for the second Wednesday of next month. So we've got a couple of weeks or maybe even 3 weeks. So we've got a little bit of time, and I understand why they're saying that. I don't know what other folks think about this, because I know it was very hotly debated before. My thing is I realize that people are using the experimental feature as if it is a production ready feature. And I don't like that because it's an experiment and people are treating it as if it was real. Some people are suggesting that that's what you should do and telling people to enable the experiment because it's ready to go. And I don't like any of that. So my feeling on experiments has actually changed. I don't think we should do any more experiments in Helm. I think everything should be a plugin. And anytime and you want to do an experiment and a plugin doesn't work, we look at how we extend the plugin API to enable that experiment to happen as a plugin. But that's just now my take on it because of the way it's been treated. That's my 2 cents. I don't know if anybody disagrees with me.
For something like fundamental when it comes to like OCI support, that's core to Helm potentially.
Well, there are downloader plugins. So actually being able to pull something out of an OCI registry was there before. We could have done that in a plugin. What wasn't there was the ability to do push and authentication. Those things weren't there. And that's an area Helm could have been extended, but actually pulling things out is something I could write a plugin for Helm 2 and pull OCI.
Yeah, you can do that. You're right.
Yeah. And so that's why I said we could, it's extending that pluggability would make some of those other features work as well. Although I think with login and push, you probably could have written a plugin to do all of this.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut in line here, but I actually put something at the end of the agenda.
Okay.
There's the inability to extend plugins to push right now, which is breaking the Chart Museum plugin. So that was, I posted the issue in the doc, but I think just having the parity with downloaders would be good as well.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely should have that pluggability. And that sounds like a great 3.8 feature. Somebody wants to write it.
Okay. I can look into both of those.
All right. Should we move on to KubeCon, which is the next one? All right. Silence is acceptance.
I'll take
see-
it. Sorry.
Oh, hey, Karen. Floor is yours.
Yeah, so KubeCon is coming up, and for the Helm project, we have a few different things going on. So there's going to be a virtual component and a physical component. So the virtual stuff will just be like what we've done in the past, which is like a online office hour through Bevy. So you just log on. And yeah, like people will come ask questions. So we are looking for people to come help with that. Bridget has listed the times. It's Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then also Friday at 10:30. So if anyone's around, if you could just ping me on what is what you're saying.
Sorry, I'm commenting on the previous.
Yeah, okay, no worries. Yeah, so if you want to ping me on the Kubernetes Slack and let me know you're free, yeah, I can do that, and I'll send you a calendar invite. Again, this is the virtual portion, and then the other part of this can be the physical booth. So we have a booth at the Project Pavilion. So if you went to San Diego, it was like that, where we just kind of have the physical space with the counter. We'll have a screen, and so this time around, we will have the booth half the day. I believe it's in the morning. I'll confirm after I stop talking, but it'll be in the morning portion of every single day. And so if anyone is going to be there in person, we could also use some help staffing there. They're asking people to like staff it for like the whole entire morning shift, but I'm guessing we can just be there during breaks, because I don't really think too many people will be coming by around keynotes and things like that. But yes, I will share a link as soon as I confirm details, which I should have done already over the call. And yeah, that's more or less it. Any questions?
Just a quick logistical question, because of course, for the online office hours, we would hope that people who are not participating at KubeCon LA in person are going to lead the sessions for the online office hours. So for the 2 sets of online office hours that are held on Bevy, where should people sign up so that they are the authorized person on Bevy to like be on camera and talk? I guess that's my question. Like we can have them sign up in this doc, but then there's something that they'll have to do, right?
Yeah,
wanna host
if
that
anyone
session.
wants to do it or can do it, just drop your name here and I'll reach out to you actually. Because I'll need an email address just to make sure you're pre-registered on Bevy. There have been technical difficulties before. So yeah, Bridget is right. We'll want to make sure you get set up properly. And yeah, like if you're not going to be at the physical conference, please help us out here because our shifts for Helm, I believe, are in the morning. So like those of us that will be at the physical project pavilion won't necessarily be able to run the call here. Yeah. Cool.
Karen, just a quick question.
Yeah.
Also, hello. Does can I connect with you later about just what I volunteered for, just to make sure that
Yeah.
I wasn't sure when I had initially volunteered, if I knew I was coming in person. I am. So I want to
Okay.
make sure that I, can do the things in person that need to be done in person, and I am not going to be online. That's all.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't really know who's physically going there or physically going to be there, like Bridget, Matt Butcher, I think Adam and myself will be there. But yeah, I will. Yeah, we can connect.
Paul too.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks all.
Oh, right. And Karina, my bad. I knew that.
All right. So I think we're good on that. And Karen, as I messaged you, I can do the Tuesday online office hours. I unfortunately will not be present at this one. It'll be my first US one I've missed in years. All right. Is there anything else around KubeCon you wanted to cover?
I guess there's a talk, there's a Helm talk. Maybe Bridget can talk about that. She wants to surface it.
I guess Paul or Karina would probably have more
Oh,
insight
yeah.
to that since
Or
they
Scott.
talked.
Scott can, he's in charge.
I was actually Scott, I was confused because when I looked at it online to add a link to it to this, it said in-person delivery, but I thought you were pre-recording. So now I'm like, oh, do we need the in-person cheering squad there? Like what's happening with that?
Yeah, so yes, so that's what ended up happening, is that we initially were talking about doing pre-recorded because Carlos was offering to be involved. It's just the timeline crept up on us, and we knew we wanted to deliver this, and most of the folks that were already involved are going in person. So we were just like, yeah, let's do this in person. We didn't really communicate that back to this team now that I think about it, and that's my bad. But we did with CNCF and made sure that everything was in line. Yeah, and so the status is right now we've been meeting, doing some collab sessions and working async on the content, and it's gonna be great.
Fantastic.
We did get the okay to do pre-recorded embedded videos in case Carlos does still want to provide stuff. So that is an option. And so we're working with him to determine at what level he wants to be involved. Because
Right,
we don't want to exclude him, but also we have to do it in person.
Right. Yeah, and he's been like super flexible and awesome with that. And the only thing to keep in mind, Paul mentioned earlier, is that when we export the slides, they don't support, the PDF version of them doesn't support the embedded video and things like that. So we'll just, make sure to reflect that properly.
Okay.
Yeah, and Farina, just for your interest there, since you initially recommended that topic a while back, the technical focus on charts, it's still on track for that. It's primarily, yes, building and publishing charts, and that includes sharing too. Okay.
All right, great. So since we want to give Andrew a bunch of time for SIG store stuff, I'm gonna bump my next one to next week. And then I want to ask in the chat here if anybody's interested in triage, hosting, or notes for next week. Please type it into chat here. And with that, I'll circle back to it on the end. Andrew, the floor is yours to talk Helm and SIG store. If you're here.
I am here. Thank you. Well, let me know if y'all can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
So want to discuss a project that I've been working on in the Sigstore community around a Helm plugin. So this is just a generic presentation that's going to be put online. What is Helm? We know that. Obviously, we're here. Sigstore is a collection of tools to sign, verify, and secure workloads. It is under the auspices of the Linux Foundation. So a lot of good representation there. And it consists of several sub-projects. This is only a spattering of them. Cosign, which is a tool to sign, verify, and store containers and store them in OCI registries. Recore, which we're going to describe very quickly, is an immutable transparency log, an API service. And Fulcio is a code signing certificate authority for creating short-lived certificates. This is certainly an area that I am certainly interested in because I don't like long-lived anything these days. In particular, we're going to talk about Recore. Recore is a transparency server. Its benefits are you have the ability to provide provenance, integrity, but more importantly, discoverability. So seeing what has been created more globally. And then some of the use cases that I've used in the past are you can monitor the usage. I particularly have used transparency servers for certificates. So certificate-based transparency servers. And then you can also detect malicious patterns that have occurred if certificates over time. So if something's changed for the certificates, you can check the transparency server. Does it match? Does it not match? And then you can understand where some malicious actor may have gotten into your supply chain. We know Helm Provenance because we're all Helm here. Supports signing of charts using OpenP2P tooling. It's all built into the Helm CLI. Today we're going to talk about how we can use the Helm Sigstore plugin to take a signed chart, upload it to Recore, and then acting as a consumer can search and verify a chart that's in Recore. So that's what we're going to really showcase today. I'm going to create a quick chart, package and sign it, upload it to Recore, and then play the role of consumer. So hopefully everyone can see this. Let's just go ahead and just create a Helm create test chart. I'll create a chart. Let's go ahead and package it. And can everyone, is this font big enough or a little bigger? Let me know.
Could you blow it up slightly?
I can do that.
Thanks.
Package. Sign, put that in there. Key string. Oh, sorry. Sign key. All right, we now have our chart. Here it is. We can now use the Helm Sigstore upload command. And then from that, you can see we can put in the location of the key ring, very similar to how we just had it in the sign package command, as well as point at the Recore server we want to reference. By default, it's going to use the publicly available one that's available for you to use. If you have one in your organization, you can then push to that instead if you so choose so. So we'll just do Helm Sigstore upload key ring equals, and we'll just point it at the package, and it's now uploaded that to Recore. Now, what did it actually store in Recore? We can use the Recore CLI to actually get the data. And this is what's been sent up. We send the hash of the chart itself, the signature that was used to sign it, and then the public key. What we do not store is we don't actually send the provenance file because I thought it would not make sense to send that because it does include the chart.yaml file, and that could have some sensitive values. Could. You probably wouldn't want to do that anyways, but that's one of the things I chose. And then now that it's up in Recore, how do you verify it? You just do Helm Sigstore verify. And then we just point at the chart again. And you see that, yep, it verified it. It says, where it's located in Recore. And it does many of the same verifications that Helm Verify does as well. So same thing. And if we wanted to create and sign and package another chart that wasn't in Recore, it would fail validation because it couldn't find it in Recore. And then if we wanted to manipulate the chart itself, and then it would differ from what's in Recore, it would fail too. So this is just a quick high-level overview of what Helm 6-store plugin can do. If you're interested in the 6-store community, first look at the 6-store plugin, github.com/6store/helm-6store. If you're interested in just 6-store itself and the project itself, 6store.dev. And if you want to get in touch with the community, they have their own Slack channel, 6store.slack.com. Thanks for the time to be able to present to you all today. I'm really excited about adding in additional security mechanisms into not only the Helm community, but also the 6-store community.
I think this is great. I do have a couple questions.
Yes.
So when it comes to, what did you say? It's Recore?
Mhm.
What's
Recore.
the status of Recore? I know Cosign is released with a 1.0. Where does Recore sit in all of this?
They expect to have a 1.0 imminently. So it's like 0.0.0.3 right now, but they're going to have a 1.0 very shortly. It wouldn't surprise me if it actually GA'd or 1.0 before KubeCon. If I had to guess, that's probably what they're targeting for.
Okay,
But we'll see.
that's great. For those of you who don't know, SigStore is not a CNCF project, but it is another Linux Foundation project.
The funny thing is, when I first heard it, I thought it was referring to a special interest group.
Yeah. There was another pull request. I know, I'm not sure who else looked at it, that Matt Butcher and I were looking at, about doing a transparency log like this. There was a project by
Brendan Phillips.
Brendan Phillips to do something like that. And this takes it to something that's really going to be production ready and everything. So I think this is great.
The reason we had stored the chart.yaml data inside of the signature block was solely for reproducibility, that YAML formatters format white space slightly differently, which changes the signature. However, that hasn't been a problem for us in the last year. So probably I think the design decision you made here should work just fine. While a chart.yaml shouldn't bleed secret information, it also is probably unnecessary to store in a system like this. So I think this design is good.
Yeah.
Super quick question about this. Andrew, would this be, to me, this seems very relevant to the talk the talk focused on charts from a technical point of view for application distributors.
Yep.
You interested in either interjecting into this during that talk, or connecting with us so that we can at least note it?
Yes, I will be at KubeCon as well. So
awesome. You can be an audience plant or something.
I sometimes a mole is good.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It looks like we got everything. By the way, circling back to assignments for the next week, we've got them all filled in. We are at time and people have to drop for the next meeting. So thank you, everyone, for coming and filling out this very full meeting. We'll be here again next week, but remember, we are skipping the week of KubeCon.
One thing I wanted to note, I will have a presentation on YouTube with the demo and slides as well that I'll be putting into the community notes afterwards.
Oh, fantastic. I look forward to it. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'll see you online.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.